for all the enthusiasm about the United States Senate's unanimous passage of the Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism Act, JASTA, permitting the families of the victims of 9/11 to sue the Saudi government in federal court, it ends up that the vote was absolutely nothing in excess of an illusion of the potential client of justice and accountability. A last-minute amendment to the final draft of the bill incorporated a dictation that permits for the United States Attorney General and Secretary of State to prevent any unresolved legislation towards the Saudis. While the JASTA will permit for families of victims of 9/11 to triumph over the existing restrictions, the innovative segment of the bill will primarily allow the executives of the Justice and State Departments to keep any lawsuits forever. Regarding to the New York Post, the dictation permits for the organizational heads to basically inform the judge hearing the case that the United States government has engaged with Riyadh in diplomatic talks to resolve the issue. Regarding to the New York Post, the dictation permits for the organizational heads to basically inform the judge hearing the case that the United States government has engaged with Riyadh in diplomatic talks to resolve the issue. The segment that was privately inserted into the legislation, Stay of Actions Pending State Negotiations, permits the Secretary of State to basically certify that the United States is engaged in good faith discussions with the foreign state defendant concerning the resolution of claims against the foreign state. Therefore, the Attorney General can petition the court for an extension of the stay for additional 180-day periods. That will effectively postpone lawsuits towards the Saudis forever. These suspicious facts which have come to light expose precisely why there was a unanimous vote for the legislation, as the senators believe they can trick Americans into believing they had stood up for the victims of 9/11 and their families. Nonetheless, in reality, they secretly knew the bill was simply a window attire meant to appease a public seeking for accountability. When questioned regarding the component of this suspicious provision into JASTA bill, co-sponsor Chuck Schumer's office pointed out his remarks in the Congressional Record, which mentioned that if the administration seeks to use this new authority, it should be prepared to provide substantial evidence of good faith negotiations particularly responsible for placing the loophole derailing the bill. Capitol Hill reports that Schumer accentuated that, "This bill is very near and dear to my heart as a New Yorker because it would allow the victims of 9/11 to pursue some small measure of justice." That bogus statement illustrates the lengths to which this man will lie to the public. In the event that the bill was near and dear to his heart, then Schumer would not have covertly snuck in the dictation at the very last minute. Families claim that generally there will have to be real and tangible proof to protect the state. They feel betrayed by the Senate. A 9/11 widow, Kristen Breitweiser, informed the New York Post, "How do I feel about the Justice Department being given this power? Not good. Their failure to bring their own Saudi indictment reveals how little they care about holding the Saudis accountable for either their The legal professionals for the victims' families claimed that in spite of being presented these false guarantees, John Cornyn, that generally there will have to be real and tangible proof to protect the state. Speaker Paul Ryan, who recently came back from a visit with Saudi King Salman, has currently gone on record as being opposed to the bill. Speaker Ryan was not anticipated to permit the legislation to the House floor for this legislation as it travels to the House, and the state dictation will in all probability not be eliminated at this point. The Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism Act for 9/11 Accountability Bill is absolutely nothing in excess of an additional hoax being perpetrated on the American people by their own government.